In this video, I'm going to cover AnyNode. If you watched my previous video, first of all, thank you, and also apologies. The sound was horrible, so I do have a mic, as you can hear, and things are much better. So I'm going to cover everything I did from before, but I'm also going to showcase a few cool use cases. So first of all, what is AnyNode? AnyNode, what is this thing? Its basics, it is a node that will take an LLM, a large language model like GPT, and it's going to create a function and stick it inside of a node for you to do basically anything that you want. What kind? Well, it can do any kind of function, really. I guess the way we look at this is it's kind of the virtual blank canvas. So you can put anything there you want, but it's a bit intimidating. And what do I mean by anything? Can it make me a sandwich? Yeah, it can make you a digital sandwich, but so anything that you can code. So anything that we can put through code, we can do through AnyNode. You know, the examples here are some color correction or color manipulation, and any kind of filter that you could think of. So why? Why is a good question. Why do we want to use this AnyNode? So let's give you some examples here. Let's start with that color correction. So I've got here just any kind of input image, and I'm going to send that over to AnyNode, and I'm going to ask it to realize that I'm sending a tensor in, and that's pretty much what this image is. It's a tensor inside this, inside of Comfy. And it's going to take that as an input, and it's going to separate the RGB channels, and it's just going to give me the blue channel. And then it's going to output another tensor showing me just the blue color, hopefully. So here we go. So this is going up into the cloud. It's going to the OpenAI API, and it's called that. It's made a function for me, and it's output a blue image of my original input image. Excellent. Great. So that's fun and all, but I could do that without AnyNode. What else could I do? Here's something that I actually cannot do. I want to do a Twirl Filter. So if you've seen in just like a vortex in the center of the image, so I want it to twist up the image in the center there. I want it to take my tensor and take my input, which is at 360 degrees, and that's going to be the angle for what comes out of the Twirl filter. So we'll go ahead and fire that up. It'll do the same thing and send it off to an API request and try to solve that function, try to figure out how to twist up my image. Excellent. And send it back to me, and it did. That's great. That's definitely something I could not do with ComfyUI. Okay, I mean, that's great and all, but why would I want to do this? Well, what about video? So I'm just going to take a simple video, just 16 frames to start to test here. And I want to input my tensor and do the same thing. The only difference here is I'm going to change that value over time. So basically it's going to take that 360 degree twirl, and it's going to apply that based on the frame. So at frame 0, it's going to be no twirl, and then at the very end, it's going to be the full twirl. So what I've done basically is created a transition filter. So I can add this into any of my video workflow and put this at the end between two videos rather than compositing at the end of the stream. So that's fine, but what else can we do with this? I'd like to use this color separation trick to process video, and actually the developer and PERS started working on a workflow like this where they've separated the colors and offset them in time. So I was talking to the dev. I wanted to kind of try this out, so I've done that. And he mentioned that at the end of this workflow, so instead of just having the color separated, we can actually output the diff of the frames. So basically it's getting the difference between the RGB colors. And from there, it's a pretty interesting effect. So I took that and intensified the colors, ramped up the brightness, contrast, and saturation, Gave me more color to work with, and then after that, put that through Animate Diff, and that just came out lovely. We put that through and latent upscale, and we come out with something that is pretty much not possible without this kind of workflow. You know, I probably could have done all of this work in Comfy, but there would be so many more nodes and so much more work. This is just such a clean workflow to have this kind of output from. So now on to the how. So how do we use this? I mean, I've kind of showed you already, but let's kind of cover over the basics here. The basic node that's going to reach up in the cloud and talk to OpenAI. You're going to need to follow the instructions on here. You're going to need to make an OpenAI key. There's a pretty easy guide to follow here, and set up a system variable that is your OpenAI key. It's not too hard to set up, but this costs money, and I'd rather do something that is free. And we can use a local LLM to do that. So I'm going to show you briefly how to set this up. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use LM Studio. And with the best thing about LM Studio is it's going to make this super easy. So the first thing you're going to need to do is download your system, install it, and get it up and running. So I've got my installed and ready to go here. And next, we're going to need a model. So again, this is really simple. We're going to find two different models. I'm going to suggest two. We're going to look for Qwen, which is going to be CodeQwen. And this one here at the top, CodeQwen 1.5, 7B, 7 billion parameters. So you can download any of these models that you like. I personally like to pick the one that's the largest, hoping that that's going to give me the best result, but you can actually read through all of this and see what all this means. Besides CodeQwen, we can come back here into search, and we can look for, we can just type in code. And one of the results at the top here is sorted by most likes. We're going to looking for Codestral, the 22 billion parameter. This is a larger model, so if this doesn't fit, the CodeQwen will work. So, and this is going to tell you what works on your system and what doesn't. For instance, you can see at the bottom here, some of these larger models will not work on my card. I've got a 3060 with 12 gigabytes, so it can only offload so much onto my GPU, and it's going to do its best guess to show you what works and what doesn't. Again, you're going to need to download this. This is going to take a minute. So once you hit download, let it queue, go grab a coffee, do what you like, and then we'll come back. Once your model is downloaded, we're going to want to test it out. So we're going to go into the chat icon on the side here, and I'm going to start up a new chat, and we're going to need to select the model. I've tested a bunch of models, and really the ones that held up the best are the Codestral and the CodeQwen. As far as using them with AnyNode. So I'm going to use Codestral. It is definitely the best 22 billion model. I am going to accept the new system prompts and wait for this to load up. It's going to take a second, not as long as it did to download, of course. And once this is done loading up, we can start typing in a prompt, and I'm just going to do something very basic like write a function that adds two inputs, and fire that off. Okay, there it goes. And it is slow. So that is the problem with the 22 billion parameter model. It's going to be slower. So this is going to finish writing this function here. I just wanted to make sure that it's working, and we can see that it can write functions. That's great. So after that, we're going to want to go down to the local server. Local server is, again, pretty simple. You can change the server port if you like. I like to leave on verbose because it's going to show me as it writes the prompt down here. And you can also click here and get some info on the way that it emulates an OpenAI API endpoint. So we're gonna start the server, and it's working. That's great. Once you have that working, we're gonna want to go over to ComfyUI. And we are going to use the AnyNode Local LLM. And the only field we need to worry about here is the server. So localhost 1234. It's the same as we had over here, 1234. And the other two fields are not going to be sent over to the server, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and hit qprompt. And that should send it over here, and it looks like it is. So it's starting to write code for me. So I will define a function, generated function, and it's gonna keep on. So well, let's go ahead and let this finish up, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, that looks like it's finished. So let's go ahead and see what our output looks like. There we go, a green image. So it's taken the green channel and outputted that. That's excellent. So there you go, your own personal node creator. For free, life is good sometimes. So there are a few caveats with this. Things to note, you're not always going to get a good result with the LLM. And so case in point is if we try the Twirl Filter with our same LLM, I don't believe I'm going to get as good results. Let's find out. So hit qprompt on that and let that run, and that's definitely going to take a minute. That's a bit longer coding, and this is the 22 billion model is pretty slow as it is, so let that go ahead and go. That's another thing to keep in mind actually, is running this locally is going to be much slower than it would be to send this out into the cloud and you're going to get a response back like almost immediately, where this is going to take a few minutes. So let's let that finish up and we'll come back again. Okay, that finished. So let's see what kind of result we get from that. So it didn't do anything. It just gave us back our original image. That was nice. I wonder if it's even rotating the image. Let's try 45. Yeah, so it's rotated the image, so it's figured out how to do that, but it has not figured out how to make the pixels actually swirl around. So that's kind of the downfalls of using a local LLM. It's not quite as strong as a model, and it's going to need a bit more help to get to the same result as it would through the API. And not a bad thing, but it's free, so you can't complain. So expect errors, expect failure, seek help on the Discord. They've got a Discord listed on the GitHub page that was also listed here. That's also linked here in the description. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave some comments or questions down below. I'll do what I can to help you guys out. Also just experimenting with this, so feel free to try some stuff out. Don't be afraid to break it. It's not gonna kill your ComfyUI. You'll probably just have to restart ComfyUI yeah, so this is cutting edge stuff, so there may not be an answer for what you're looking for, so just be willing to sway with the branches. Enjoy the journey. None of this was possible just a few years ago. Keep that in mind. It is an interesting time to be alive, to say the least. Thanks, guys.